what's up guys, TheJordude's here, back again with another Shadowverse video, and we're back with the notable picks. It was like a week or more than a week, 2 weeks maybe, where Shadowverse wasn't updating their website on the cards that they revealed for the Wonderland Dreams expansion, but they finally updated the cards. It's still not up to date to like everything, but there's new stuff on here, so we can finally talk about the new cards that they have released, or not released, revealed. So yeah, let's get right into it. The first card we'll start off with the Forest Craft here. I don't really need to talk about Beauty and the Beast because we already know that card. It's not too special. It's just a lot of stats on it. If you have neutral cards, it gets a bonus effect. And if you have more than 5 cards, it becomes a big body. But that's something we've been seeing a lot of. It's just followers with a lot of big bodies, a lot of big stat lines. But the card I do want to talk about is Fairy Dragon. So Fairy Dragon is the other fairy Forest Craft legendary. It's a 2-cost 0/4 that evolves into a 2/6, and it has Ward. The fanfare effect is add X to this follower's attack. This value equals the number of allied fairies that have been destroyed during this match. So typically when you play like OTK Roach or just fairy decks in general, you're going to be playing quite a bit of fairies. I would say you could easily hit like 8 to 10 fairies in the game, every game. So, or that every game that lasts like past turn 6 if you don't die, past turn 7 if you don't die to Ector. So Fairy Dragon could be a very big body in the mid to late game, especially with the cost being 2. Like it's so easy to weave in your curve. Like playing enough Forest Craft, you know that you're going to have the play points to play the Fairy Dragon on like turn 6 or something like that. So in the mid or late game, Fairy Dragon could be a really big threat, especially if you played a bunch of fairies earlier trying to get tempo off them. But even in the early game, like if you is not the greatest on turn 2, it would be like a 0/4, but if you play it on turn 2, the 4 health is quite a lot. A lot of classes can't deal with 4 health especially on turn 2, so it could set you up for your Ancient Elf on turn 3. So just bouncing it back for your Ancient Elf buff, and then you play it again later when it actually has some attack points. So I do think Fairy Dragon would be a very good card, so I'm excited about it. And yeah, and Beauty of the Beast, like we're not talking about it, but it's going to be a good card too, or it feels like it's a good card. So I'm glad Forest got some quality legendaries in this expansion. The other forest card I want to talk about is Flower Princess. So this is a bronze 4-drop, 4-cost 2/4, evolves into a 4/6, and the fanfare effect is Fairy Whisperer. Pretty much, you put 2 fairies in your hand if you have 2 or less neutral cards in your hand. But if you have at least 3 neutral cards in your hand, you get your 2 fairies plus a Thorn Burst. And for those people that don't know what Thorn Burst is, it's like the card that Rose Queen generates, and the 2-cost spell that does 3 damage to your opponent. So either their face or a follower. So yeah, Flower Princess is really good because Forest right now is lacking an alternative 4-drop. Right now they only have Elven Princess Mage. But when you're going first, you don't really want to play her because you either want to play her going second so you can evolve her on turn 4, or you play her later on like turn 5 or something where you evolve her, because a lot of times you want those fairies. But Flower Princess is a pretty good card. It's got a decent stat line. It's not the greatest, but if you're going first, just playing this on turn 4 is really good. You get 2 free fairies, and if you have 3 neutral cards or more, you're going to get Thorn Burst, which could be very useful. And overall, this just gives you a lot more gas. You could possibly play more aggressive decks because you play Flower Princess, so you keep generating cards. I do think Flower Princess will be played in Forest decks, but probably as like a 2-of. I probably play 2 Flower Princess and 3 EPMs, or vice versa. I have to try it out, see which one I like. Alright, there's only one card here that I want to talk about for Sword at the moment, and that's the Rabbit Ear Attendant. She is a Swordcraft Bronze Officer, and she's a 3 play point 2/3 that evolves into a 4/5, and her fanfare effect is draw X cards. X equals the number of allied neutral cards in play. So this card is actually so good because Sword doesn't really have too many good card draws. They have like the Mage, but that's just like kind of like a tutoring effect. The Stratagem no one ever plays. So like Sword is lacking some card draw, especially if you're playing the more aggressive mid-rangey swords. You don't have any card draw at all, and you don't have as many late game threats as like a control sword would have. So you will run out of resources more quickly. So Rapid Ear Attendant is really good because there's no downside effect, and even if you only have like 1 or 2 neutral cards in play, like that's already good value. You're only paying 3 play points for this card. Like any more than that and your gain is just such a bargain. So Rapid Ear Attendant is just like overall a really solid card, especially because we do see neutral sword being pretty good with the Cinderella. So I definitely think Rapid Ear Attendant is going to be a legit card after the expansion comes out. So the next card I want to talk about is the Master Mage Levi. He's our favorite old man, except he's like 50 years younger. It's a 6 cost golden follower for runes. The 4/4 evolves into a 6/6. The fanfare effect is deal 3 damage to an enemy, so either a follower or your opponent's face. And the Earthright effect is deal 3 damage to all enemies instead. So this card is actually so insane because the Earthright effect, first of all, is going to clear a lot of the board, if not all of the board. And then Anne is doing damage to your opponent's face. Like, that's so good. It's doing so much for just 1 Earthright cost. And for costing 6, it's not even that bad. You're pretty much guaranteed to have an Earthright in play. It almost puts Calamitous Curse to shame because you get a body doing damage to face and you're clearing almost just as much as Calamitous would. And Banishing isn't as relevant anymore. Like the only stuff you have to banish is like Ouroboros, Mordecai, so I guess there's like 2 good targets left. But yeah, Master Mage Levi looks really solid. It seems like they're pushing a decent amount of support for the Earthright dirt decks. It doesn't look like, I don't know how this, I don't think it would be able to synergize with neutral cards, but dirt does seem like a viable archetype in this coming format, either as like a, I don't even know, maybe like still aggro dirt, mid-range, or grinder dirt might even make a comeback. And the last card we'll talk about in this video will be Falise, Leonardian Mage. This card is also just like one of those really solid cards that I want to give a notable pick to. It's a 5 cost golden 3/6 that evolves into a 4/7. And her fanfare effect is deal X damage to an enemy follower. X equals the number of neutral cards in your hand. So this would go with your neutral effects or your neutral rune deck, which I'm still not too sure how this deck would be put together, but it does seem like they have some pretty good neutral support package, especially with Falise. Falise costing 5 is going to be able to gain tempo by ideally killing mid-game threat. And then the enhanced 7 is you get to evo the follower, and we already know how good Erin is when you evo her for free on her enhanced. So this is almost just as good. Actually, it's even better because when she's evolved, she gets stormed. So like that even makes it so it's possible that neutral sword or neutral rune could be neutral aggro rune could be a thing too. So like, yeah, Falise looking really good with the neutral package, and we're going to have to see if that pushes neutral rune to becoming a good archetype. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have since this video is all my opinion and my perspective of these cards, if you have any different opinions or something I missed out on, make sure you comment down below. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and check out all my links down below in the description. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and see you in the next video. Peace.